Well, happy Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. I am Scotty Roberts. This is It's Sunday with Scotty and no Raini. Raini's in Alaska. And Raini is hard to come by on Sundays anymore, but we try to get her in here every now and then. Maybe we'll be lucky she'll call in from Alaska, but it is 3 hours earlier there, so it's 6 a.m. They're at Chena this morning. Chena or Chena, the hot springs up there north of Fairbanks, I think it is. And they were driving there still last night when I talked to her last. And so hopefully we'll hear something from her today. If not, we won't. And here, let me take this banner down. And so good morning, everyone. And this morning, I almost overslept. I know that's hard to believe, but why is my camera framed differently? It never picks up all that stuff on the outside. That's weird. Okay, that's funny. Maybe it's pushed back further. I don't know. Let's try that. There. And I have a missing sword. My son must have taken one yesterday. As you know, everybody, if you're a regular here, this show is not I must be in widescreen this morning, Susie Q. This show is not the formal Intrepid radio program. This show is the informal Sunday morning. Let's sit around and chat a little bit version of the show. And it doesn't mean the content is any less good or better. Or less better. Look at that. See, it's still doing that. I must have hit a setting of some kind. That's odd. But it just means that this is Sunday morning. And we're going to kick back a little bit. I've got the cat down there begging to be fed, but he's always doing that. So don't let that throw you if you hear him in the background. That's Bob Saget. And most of you know that already. If you're regular to this program, those of you who are joining us over on Facebook or over on Instagram, why don't you come on over and you can watch us there, or you can join us in the chat room over on the YouTube channel, which is the best place if you want to chat, because the chat room doesn't always, it doesn't at all relay over to those two places. So come on over here if you want to join the chat that works. And of course you can see it in the description, but I'll paste it in all the appropriate places. If you want to come over here, here it is. Bang. There is the chat room if you want to call in. Let me do that also over on Instagram. And chat room. I gotta type that in there so everybody over on Instagram, if they come in, they can see that. Good morning over on Instagram. Looks like we had Janice over there. Good to see you this morning. And then over on Facebook, here is the chat room. I'm gonna put this in here in case you don't see the link. It's in the description. In all places, but there it is again. Chat room with an H, not a J. So chat room. Boom, there we go. Business out of the way. So I'm going to tell Raini to call in this morning. Boom. There it is. I sent it to her as well. Now, her signal is going to be a little choppy up there, she said, because we weren't able to talk much last night, but it was in and out, in and out. Elvis is in the box, smashing the like button. Do likewise, folks. Smash that like button. And who else we got? Let's see. Let me do this. Oops. I just put the header back up. Let me take that header down. Oh, I like that header, by the way. So let's leave it up for a minute and have a coffee. Cheers. I'm having iced coffee today. That's been my new weird habit. I like hot coffee. Hot coffee, what does it do for you in the morning? Get you going. But when it was really hot outside, when we were up in the 100 and high humidity and all that, drinking hot coffee just didn't quite cut it for me. And so I started the iced coffee, and it's fantastic. And so I've been brewing coffee and then icing it and putting it in the fridge. And there it is. And adding a little, we had some vanilla latte around here. I added a little bit of that, but I like the vanilla creamer in it. And so it's really good. It's refreshing. So good morning with my iced coffee. Tasty. So what's everybody up to today? What's your what's going on? What's going on in your world, at your home, and with your ghosts, with your politics, with your oh, hi down there, Lucy. Lucy's down at my feet. When Mom is not around, when Rainey's not here, Lucy is like a magnet to me. There she is. I don't know if you can see her. There she is. Hi, Lucy. What you doing? Huh? There's Lucy. She wants to come up on my lap. You want to come up, Fatty? Huh? You want to come up here? Come on. Come on. Can you jump up here? Can you make it? Oh, you did. Oh, there she is. So there's Lucy, missing Mom, needing Dad. What can I do for you, huh? That's Lucy Fur. What's up, pup? Huh? She's not a big noble breed that would protect you, if bandits raided or your house is. What could she do? She can make a lot of noise and bite your ankles, but what you doing, huh? You miss Mom? She wants food. Her tail is just going. I don't know if you can see that. The whole time, it's like her whole body's shaking from the tail. Do you want to get down? No, I don't want your paw in my mouth. I really don't. And you got eye boogers this morning. At least on one side. What do you want to do? She's still wagging. You can't see it. It's right down there because her whole butt's just wiggling. I don't want your paw in my mouth. I really don't. No, I don't. Oh, my puppy. Oh, yeah. Oh, she likes that. What? I'm gonna put you down, okay? All right. There you go. Lucy Fur. And so, but this morning, very interesting dream. My phone is set with alarms to go off at 8:00 on Sunday morning, and then a secondary alarm at 8:30, and just in case alarm, And I had no alarms this morning, and I woke up at actually 8:58, and I was glad that my hair wasn't all smushed all over my face or anything. I got up and I threw on my shirt and pants and grabbed a cup of coffee and sat down. So I was almost late. Well, I was late, as you saw, and by a few minutes because I didn't wake up, and I had no alarm. So, but I had some very interesting dreams going on. And what about dreams? What is it in our dream world that everything is different than? I mean, I know it's our minds processing, but there are things that take place that other things that are our responsibilities, obligations, commitments, people. It's different. It changes. It's like it changes your world. So nothing exists. At times, nothing exists that should exist or that does exist, and everything's different. And I had Now, you have those dreams where you are observing, and then the dreams where you are participating. And it might even be you. In both instances, it's you, and you are viewing yourself going through experiences, living it, acting it, but you're actually outside of it, watching it. And then there are the dreams where you're participating, you're part of it. And I know why things are in shambles. My son was down here last night, Sam, picking up all his gear he left here from the festival and stuff. I was just noticing that my flag was all out of kilter back there. I think he was pulling some of the swords and stuff that were his back here. So and so everything's out unarranged back there. So dreams, I was having an interesting dream. And why do your dreams always happen at a point where it wakes you up, or you wake up out of them, or they always happen just as your alarm comes? Or are you dreaming the whole night and that's just the one that you remember? It's the last one you were having. Now, I don't recall anything waking me up this morning, other than I think there was a sense of, I remember laying there in my dream thinking I should look at the clock. It seems like I'm sleeping an awful long time. And of course, I fell asleep last night on the sofa. I was watching something, and it was late. It was like midnight or something, and I fell asleep, and I woke up. And it was 4 a.m. So I staggered down to bed, and so there was a bit of tiredness in there. But Roger Rabbit says I haven't had any dreams for a solid 6 to 8 months. Now, what does that do to your sleeping? They say if you don't dream, that could be very problematic. Is it you're not remembering your dreams? Do you think? I've had periods like that too, where I'm like, I don't think I'm dreaming. But are we dreaming? We just don't remember them. Last night's was vivid. It was incredibly vivid. So vivid that the people in it make it feel like that's somebody that I should be talking to today when I'm done with the show. It's like that person is out there. It was so real. But it was not somebody I know in my dream. And now here's kind of how this went. Part of this dream involved my old friend from high school. And he's been my friend through the years. He's the one I told you about. He was in my dream, and the Scottish dream, in the 1400s or something like that, where I thought he had fallen in battle, and I called him after that, and we talked. That was just 6 months ago, something like that. But he's on my Instagram. We talk every now and then. And we haven't seen each other face to face for a while, but good friend. But I was in this dream, the beginning of it, because it all morphed from one thing to another. But in this dream, I'm suddenly having to go back to school. Now, it was as if I was going back to high school. And my friend, I think it went from going to a job of some kind to being in school. It kind of all melded together. And my friend Kent was going to come along with me because he had to be somewhere too. And I was on horseback. Now, it was modern day. There were cars. There were kids, like crowds of kids walking to school in the streets. As you get closer to school when you're driving, and kids are walking from all over the neighborhoods. And it was like that. It was big crowds of kids. And so I'm on my horse, and the horse was very familiar to me. It was a not a bay, a sorrel colored horse, and almost black, come to think of it. and but not a black horse, a dark brown horse. And my friend Kent, I threw him on the back of the horse with me, and we're off to school. And there was some conversation between us. It didn't seem weird in the dream that I was picking him up on horseback. And the thing about the dream was that I was there. I was experiencing. I was sitting in the saddle, holding the reins. And I haven't ridden on a horse for since we moved off the ranch, which was, my God, Sam was 10 years old, so that was 13 years ago. And so, and Flynn wasn't born yet. So, hi. Now this one's down there, clawing at me, biting my hand, like, feed me. This is Bob Saget. Hey, Bob Saget, don't put your kitty litter paws on my face. What do you need? What do you need now? He wants to be fed, but he's got food in his dish. So, anyway, there's Bob Saget. Hi. What? So, and I'm not a cat person. You know that. So, yeah, what? What do you need? Huh? Since he was a kitty, we held him like this, so we could do this when he gets older. And he was very well socialized as a kitten. So he's all right. He's just purring away. So, I feel like Dr. Evil all of a sudden. Yes, so we would like $1 million, or we will destroy the moon. So, right? Is that what we're going to do? Destroy the moon? You can get down now. He was just biting at my hand. He wants so badly to be fed right now. And he's got food in his dish. It's like, yeah, but it's not the fresh, wet food mixed into the crunchy food. So just go eat your crunchy food. So, anyway, we're on horseback. And I'm there. I'm on the horse. I can feel being on the horse and riding the horse. And my friend Kent is on the back, hanging on. And so we got these crowds, and we're going down a side street in a city. Trees all over. It's suburban, and down a hill, and I had to go up a little bit. And there's kids all walking and toward the school. And so I start running the horse, and I could feel it. It was just exhilarating, and suddenly Kent wasn't on the back anymore. And I got to the top of the hill and went, oh my God, he must have fallen off. And I didn't hear him fall off. So I turned around and I went back and found it. But the process in there, I'm running on the horse, and I'm running the horse. And I even remember the feeling of standing a bit forward in the saddle, leaning a bit forward, and I've got the reins instead of here holding the reins and walking, I've got him out here. I'm giving him his head. And don't misinterpret that. Giving the horse his head. And he's running, and I'm there, and it was a glide. It wasn't like we're running like this. It was like he's running, and I'm level with I'm not hardly moving. He's just gliding. And that's great when you could break your horse into that kind of a run. And so we're running, and I could feel it. And we got to the top of the hill, and I realized Kent isn't there anymore on the back of my horse. So I turned while we were still in a bit of a run. I slowed him down. We're running, and I turn him to look back to see where Kent is. And in the turn, he reared up. Not in anger or anything like that. He was that's what he was doing while he was turning. And I just rode through the rear up, and down, and we turned around and looked, and it was magical. The whole feeling of it was magical. I haven't been on a horse, like I say, and well, Flynn is going to be 15 in 2 weeks. It's been almost 15 years since I've been on a horse. Just because we haven't had that opportunity, we don't own the horses anymore, and etc. And so I ran back and I found Kent, and he was still sitting on the ground, and people were helping him get up. And I go, "Whoa, sorry, man, no big deal," you know. And then so he gets back on. We're suddenly at the school. I'm still on my horse, and he's gone now. He's gone to his own thing. He's out of the dream. Exit stage left, and I am walking the horse through the hallway, and I'm still mounted on the horse. And then at some point, I get off the horse and I ask a question where I'm supposed to be, and I'm leading him by the reins down the hallway, and he's right there, and he turns to me, and it's almost like he has this. My horses were always personable, but he had that personality that was, he knew he was mine, I was his, and he turned to me, you know, and I gave him a kiss on the side of his face, and led him down the hallway a little bit more and talked to him, and he knew what I wanted, and he knew where I was, and it was like a movie horse. And of course, my horses were pretty good about that too. So let me take a sip of coffee. So we got to a classroom, and then here's where a weird twist in the dream. And you wonder why you dream these things. Suddenly there was a young woman. We're in the hallway in school, and she's somebody that it had this feel. Now, sorry, Rainey, if you're listening, it was one of those things where it's like Rainey did not exist. She wasn't. That's why I said in dreams, why do dreams do this to you? It's like she's not there. She doesn't exist in the dream. And this young woman was, and of course, I'm an older guy, but in the dream, I don't think I was any younger. I think it just didn't matter. And this younger woman, by younger woman, I imagine her when I look at her in my mind's eye, remembering, not 30 yet. Let's look at it that way. And somebody that I felt in the dream, I didn't know her very well, but we knew each other very well, but we didn't know each other, which is weird. That weird feeling, you know. And she had a bit of an Hispanic look about her. I would mention movie actresses, but it wasn't them, and I don't want to throw it off by that, but she kind of had that look of how many of you remember the movie Aliens? The second movie. It came out in the 80s. Sigourney Weaver, and I can't remember the names of all, but there was one of the Marines in that movie was an Hispanic woman. I think the character name was Vasquez, and she had that kind of look. She had the look. I don't know if it was the same actress because it seems like it was years apart. But if you remember, there was an Hispanic soldier in Avatar, the original Avatar. Can't remember the name. I don't know if it was the same actress because they appeared to be the same age in the movies. And I think I was trying to figure that out when I was watching it. But then there was somebody else she kind of looked like. Throw in for good measure in the Spider-Man movies, one of the more recent ones, which I don't watch, but my kids watch them. She played Mary Jane, MJ, but she was an Hispanic version of MJ. It wasn't her, but she was an amalgam, this woman in my dream, of all these people. But she definitely had the Hispanic, Latino. Are those two different things, Hispanic and Latino? I don't want to be offensive to anybody out there, but I don't know the difference. So there was this young woman in the dream, and we're talking and talking. I don't remember the words of the conversation, but the talk was of, can we fall in love? And now the weird thing is, I'm married. I've got Rainey. I love my wife. Why would I dream that? So, and I think I said something to the effect of being, I have some entanglements, but but there was no specificity to it, and it was weird, and it was like suddenly there was nothing sexual. It wasn't a sexual dream, but we were sitting on a bench in the school, and then laying on a bench in the school, and I'm it's kind of like you would be out on campus and laying on the ground next to each other, kind of thing. And I'm looking at her, and in this dream had this realization that I loved this person, and it was vivid, and it wasn't untoward. It wasn't in violation of marital vows. It was nothing like that, because none of that existed in the dream. And so it was kind of weird in that respect. And then it was either her or my brain saying, check the time. Are you oversleeping? And I woke up. So here's the big question. Why do our dreams treat us that way? Why do they manhandle us and bitch slap us with things in our minds? What's that supposed to do? And it was so vivid. The horseback riding, the woman in the dream, they were so vivid that they have to mean something. And it's so powerful an image that's still in my head. They say the more a dream sticks with you and the details, that the more of a message from your subconscious is there, or the consciousness that's out there. And so it was interesting that these elements existed in this dream. It was interesting to me how being there and real the riding the horse was. Sitting in the saddle, running with the horse, giving him his head, as we'd say, turning him, the horse mounting up, the horse reacting to me, knowing that, and I knew that he knew that there was a bond between us. And then the woman, the Latino, Hispanic woman in the dream. And a very, and it wasn't a weird kind of, wow, holy sexual overtones dream, because the woman was very normal. She was very pretty and average, but not an exotic like you'd think in a dream. And it was it was interesting that there was this connection with this person in the dream, but then it's over. Boom, oh, bye. So you're left deciphering that, going, wow, my brain is either really processing weirdness this morning, and then I wake up out of it. It's one of those dreams where why do you always wake up from a good dream, or a dream that I wouldn't even classify this as a good dream, because I classified it as the things that were happening were real and felt good. That makes it a good dream overall, but it wasn't like, oh, I had this great dream last night. That was just a regular. Hey, Nancy Planetta. Dreams are your unconscious level of functionality. The id It's where on a very basic level, you're shown that past, present, and future are always one. Well, Nancy, what do you make of that dream? I don't know if you heard the whole thing or not, but the horse part was very vivid. The connection to the horse was very vivid. The connection to this woman was very vivid. And I almost hate to say woman because you get the picture of I didn't get the picture that she was a mature, the handsome woman stage, the 40 to 50, and, that she was a young woman in her 20s. And it didn't even occur to me, why would a young woman in her 20s be that attracted is not the word, be that at one with me in the dream in my mind, that there was a deepness to it. And see, none of that mattered in the dream. So it's interesting. Nancy, do a public dream interpretation if you'd like. It's nice to have you here, by the way. I could have used you the other night. And when we were talking about stuff. So that was the interesting dream. And why do they always happen? Oh, you caught the end. Well, as a quick recap, riding a horse to school. I was an adult. I was my age. I was in the dream, and this is for those of you who might be joining too. I was in the dream. I was experiencing it. I was sitting in the saddle, holding the reins, riding this horse. I picked up a friend of mine who was also my age, and he's sitting on the back behind me, and we're riding to school. And high school. Then at some point, I break into a run on the horse, and it was like a flying dream, which I haven't had ever since I was a kid. It had that feeling of flying. We were gliding on the horse, and I'm running down the street. There's crowds of kids walking to school. I'm running down the street and just gliding on the horse. It was just giving him his head, letting him run, leaning into it. And I get to the top of this hill and realize my friend Kent isn't on the back anymore, and I got to turn around and go find him. Oh, did he fall off? And as I'm turning, the horse mounts up, rears up as we're turning, and it was liquid, it was fluid, it was golden, and the horse knew exactly what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. We ran back, found Kent. He jumped back on. We made it to school. Kent disappears out of the dream. And I'm walking the horse down the hall. I'm still mounted up. And at one point I get down and I'm leading him. And then the Latino, Hispanic girl, who resembles, okay, here you go. This is not who it was, but Nicole Jones, Nikki Crew, Kreux, a good friend of mine. If you remember, she's the one who filmed the History Trippers trailer for John Ward and me 10 years ago. She had that look about her. Now, Nikki is, I think, she said Crow, Native American, Crow. So maybe the person in my dream was Native American, but I'm trying to describe her. And so she had that look about her. But it wasn't Nikki, but somebody that looked like her. And I've always seen these Hispanic women playing soldiers, in movies like Aliens, Avatar, that she looked like. And then like the newer version of MJ, Mary Jane, in the newer, later versions of the Spider-Man series of movies. Latino, Hispanic actress. She had kind of an amalgam of those characters. And Nikki, who is Native American. Maybe she was Native American in my dream. It didn't come up in the dream of, what's your heritage? So it was very interesting, though. Let's see. Nancy says here. Oh, here you go. Rather than read it, let's just bring you in. Hey, Nancy.
I'm sitting there trying to write all this. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God. I'm just going to find my way through StreamYard.
There you go. So it's it was very interesting. It was I was there. I was experiencing it. It was in color. I remember the colors of the place.
Those are direct connect dreams. That's where your conscious is literally attaching to different moments, pieces, fragments to make. It's giving you a message. And I always say, you know how I feel about dreams. I don't believe junk dreams. I don't. It is a part and parcel to who you are. Horses, Scotty, horses always mean freedom, independence, intelligence. That's why when people generally dream of horses, they're either in a group where they're peaceful, or you're on the horse and you're riding free. It feels like you're flying.
Yeah.
You move faster and faster, or you can slow the gait. All depends on where you're at in life.
And that was this horse. Hold your thought. This horse was, it was like a flying dream, which I haven't had since I was a kid. It was this whole leaning into the giving the horse's head, letting him run, and gliding. And it was almost magical, that feeling. It was so real and so there. And the horse knew me. He was acknowledging me the way a horse would acknowledge a human. Kiss him on the side of the face when we're walking down the hall of the school. I've got him in the school, walking him after that. And so the horse was very real.
Well, it's because the horse is kind of, it is an embodiment of you. It's a piece of you that's been contained. And I think it's very interesting that school incorporated into it, because again, to quote a great old broadcaster, knowledge is power. And you can see the education in your journey. And it's funny because it's power and empowerment, as I like to say. Knowledge empowers you. As much as it is a gain of power, it's also empowerment. And you can spread that empowerment. Your friend that was riding on the back, that was your youth. And when he fell off, it showed that you lost friends along the way as you gain knowledge.
Now I did go back for him.
Right.
I went back and found him. And
it doesn't mean that you lose them forever. It just means that you pivot. You and I both know that in life, as you gain more knowledge, you tend to go outside the construct of where your social positions were as you were raised, as you grew up, even your friendships throughout high school, college, what I like to call the formulative years, because I know they like to say that's grade school. I'm like, really? Because in grade school, you're still looking at mud saying, should I eat it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was forming nothing in grade school other than forming my childhood. And my formulative years were high school and college. So,
oh my gosh, I'm looking at the question. So why do we dream for 20 years after graduating college that we forget to finish class? Unfinished business, my love. That is a subconscious kick in the pants to make sure you're completing so you don't have regrets. It's not necessarily
Daniel.
That class. Unfinished business. That's a very, very common dream. But there's Robert.
Did someone say it's your conscience? Conscience or consciousness? What are you trying to say there? You said conscious. It's your conscience, are you saying, Professor Bauer?
That's my boo. That is my boo. He's going to go into frequencies. I know where he's going. I can read his mind 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. So,
Scotty, you've had a lot of discovery dreams over the past year. You and I have spoken on several dreams. It's like, or several occasions where it's like you've been through this struggle with your identity. And I think hard times make that struggle more, like you question your steps. When things become physically hard, when you begin to notice your age, when things start catching up to you.
There's that.
You begin to question your own mortality and some of the decisions you made. But the one thing your subconscious and your id are trying to tell you is that you have made choices that have expanded you beyond the physical.
Okay.
And it's trying to let you know that, like the horse, when you are in a dream and you're riding a horse and you're at breakneck speed and you've got your head down, so that horse is taking the brake wind.
We were going. So
but you're not getting hit with the headwind. The horse is. So again, it's showing you that you've grown, you've learned, okay? You understand it. Like the person behind you most likely got hit with the headwind and fell off the back of the horse. We don't look at it that way, but consciously thinking about it I don't know if you're a rider, I'm a rider. And I know if you don't get low when you start getting going, yep, you're
I
gonna
was
eat a
mentioning, we had horses when we had the ranch. I used to train horses, not as a living. I used to train my own horses. I used to ride quite a bit. Every day I'd go out for a ride, and which was nice when we had the ranch. I loved doing that. And so, but I have not been on a horse in almost 15 years. And since we moved off the ranch, we haven't owned horses. We haven't gone anywhere to ride. Rainey's not a big horseback rider anyway. She doesn't like it. She's afraid of them. And so we just never did that as a fun thing. And so it was surprising to be on horseback. And, but it was surprisingly almost better than it ever felt in real life. Because I don't know why, but
well, again, look at what horses. Okay, so you have to piece things together here, Scotty. Stay with me.
all right.
When you were younger, that was your escapism in many ways. If you're like me with animals, that is your way out. When you would ride, you just leave everything behind. It was about the ride. It was about the freedom of the ride. It was about enjoying everything around you, the horse, the nature, all of it. It just was embracing that. I mean, I always say that there's nothing like certain things. Like with me, it's swimming. When I swim, that's an ultimate freedom for me. I'm in my own space. When you get older, you left some of that behind.
Yeah.
You have a large family. You have a lot of responsibilities. You got very much into the technical aspects of what you were doing. You left that freedom. You left that form of expressionism behind you in many, many ways. And it's something you have to have. And I think you're embracing it again now. Like I'm seeing, even when I watch your shows, you don't understand. I watch your shows quite a bit.
Oh, that's nice
to
to
tune
have
in
you
to
here.
see how's Scotty doing. It's like checking up on the booze.
Nice.
But I mean, it's interesting because you've had so many concerns and worries, and so have we all in many ways. It's just there's been such an oppressive feeling, just generally. I'm not even just speaking in this country. I'm speaking in the world. I think there's just been such a strong feeling of oppression. It's like your consciousness saying, hey, I got to cut loose. This is the way I'm going to do it. I do it through knowledge. And I'm telling you, that's the school infiltration in the dream. School is always knowledge. And in many ways, I think if I was to put us, I always say the general population, when it comes to knowledge, we are pretty much at kindergarten level. I mean, when it comes to the actual ability to expand and encompass and absorb knowledge, we tend to stay within the construct of the education system. We tend to not go outside that. We don't give ourselves that freedom. Some of us do, some do not, but it is almost like a rapture event when you do. You let those constructs down. You begin looking at other options, other means of existence. Even you're just living differently at that point. You see all sides of the angle. When you're outside the box, you're not limited to the walls of the box. You can see your peripheral opens up. Everything opens up. You can see it all. And it begins to change your opinions as you move forward. With you, again, Scotty, I have watched you. We've known each other 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I have watched you change so much over, like, you're still the funny Scotty I met and knew.
Well, that's good.
I know you really are. You have this like quirky,
yakata. Yeah.
Truly a
Not
quirky
that
sense
kind
of
of funny.
humor.
Yeah.
And I always remember saying you were our bibliophile. Scotty's the bibliophile. He comes in, he's got that really transformative type of intelligence. When you're speaking to him, you're speaking to an educated person, but you had that ability to let your guard down and just freaking laugh. Over the years, I've seen that change, alter, sway. You always had in the very, very beginning, you were it was like you were looking to expand your beliefs, but you weren't sure how to do it. And then you started really looking into other things, other cultures, other belief systems, and you never lost your faith in God, which is one of the things I love about you. But you expanded it. Like you redefined it in many ways. So it was like,
Redefining is probably a good way to put that. Yeah.
yeah, and it was beautiful. It still is beautiful to watch because you're still doing it. And
Boy,
your
you
dream
were there
is, go
even
ahead.
through the he who shall not be named years. Um, I just don't invoke his name anymore, and I don't want to untowardly invoke his name and have anybody go, oh, I wonder who that is. I should go look him up.
Do you know I got triggered a couple weeks ago with "He Who Shall Not Be Named," because
Yes.
there was something going on the news, and the city in Oklahoma that shall not be named was mentioned, and it triggered me to go kind of look,
Yes.
and I was like, "Oof." I mean,
Well,
it's you think back and you're like, this is the guy that threw me off his radio show because I told him that all things are energy and frequency. Do you
yes,
remember that?
I do.
He threw me off. That was in like 2008, 2009.
Yeah. And folks, let me just give you a little primer. We're talking about a guy that it wouldn't hurt to say his name. I don't care. I really don't care.
Go for it.
But his name was Lan Lemfear, and still is. I was using it in the past tense. And brilliant man, tall, good-looking, you'd think hardworking, radio guy, trying to build a radio station, doing the independent thing like Rocky's done and Russ has done and I've done and we've all done. And brilliant at it, brilliant at raising money to do all of his efforts. He was I'm going to keep using the word brilliant cinematographer,
Yes.
movie maker, and he did all these things, and he kept building websites to go along with all these different efforts he was trying to get off the ground. And the things that he did he did things in like sport
Ufology.
bike racing, bicycle BMX racing. He did national park stuff in Oklahoma. He did all of this kind of stuff that was brilliant and looked great, but he could never get it going past a certain point. And he also got into porn. He had his wife, who was, what's a better way to say it, porn worthy. She had that look to her.
She was young too.
But no, I will also say don't think the fake looking porn. Think she was a beautiful woman, but she was into that, and she was a lot younger than he was, and they got into it, and they called it educational porn, and he put that site up, and he even had approached me and Raini and asked if Raini wanted to come in and be part of this porn, come down and film some porn with them. And this was back when, God, was Flynn born yet? I think it was either just after or just before Flynn was. No, it was after Flynn was born. I remember now because I remember the house we were in.
Oh, that's right.
Post Ranch. And I said to Rainey, I said, that's really your choice if you want to do that. Now, all of you listening might go, oh, that's weird. I'd say no. Well, initially you think about that. But then I thought, Rainey, I asked her, is that something you want to do? Yo, Rocky Stucci's in the room. By the way, you should call in too. I got Nancy Planetti here. Rocky.
He knows. He's calling. He better call in.
He
Rocky,
better call in.
You butthead.
So, I asked Rainey and I asked him, she asked him, well, how much are you going to pay me to do this porn movie? And he says, well, I can get you about 2,000. And she said, you add about 3 zeros on that and I'll do it. She said. So she said, you give me, well, I don't know if it was 3, maybe it was 2 zeros. She said, you give me 20,000. She said, and I'll consider it. So, and I said to her, I said, do you really want to do that? And she goes, not really, but he's going to pay me $20,000. She said, do you have a problem with it? I said, 20,000 for an hour's worth of work. I said, it's up to you. So, now you all might go, oh, I can't believe you that you, I'd never let my wife do that.
You don't know Raini.
You don't know Raini. Yeah. And Raini, it wouldn't be because her heart was in it. It would be because, I don't mind being naked. I don't mind sex. I don't have any hangups with any of that. And he's going to pay me $20,000 to have sex outside my marriage. Let's see what my husband says. Otherwise, It wouldn't be like I want to have sex outside my marriage because I'm in love with this guy and I want to cheat on my husband. That wouldn't be why she'd do it. She'd do it for 20,000, you say?
I can't honestly. I can't even believe we're talking about land because, like I said,
I know.
It's just a couple of days ago I was triggered by it because I saw something for Norman, Oklahoma.
And every now and then, here I'm professors here. I'm going to just bring them in. Let me finish my thought here, though. We're just waiting for Rocky to call. So I every now and then I think of Lan. I have things that come up, and Lan ended up being and this is all a matter of record. There was somebody that listens to the show quite regularly. Kat is her name. You'll see her if she pops up. Catherine, if you're out there and you're listening, I'm talking about you. That she's in Oklahoma, and she had written me out of the blue about, I don't think it was quite a year ago, maybe a year ago, and asking if I knew this person. And I don't remember the connection she made to me on this. I don't remember where she got the connection, but there was this guy and he was using a different name. I wish I could remember what the name was, but, it had that name like, a
stage
Buckaroo,
name.
Buckaroo Chisholm. It had a name that had that kind of ring to it, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But he was somebody who had worked his way into their small town in Oklahoma to do work for the library, do filming, do all kinds of things. And of course, it was all a scam. And which is what he's become famous for. And I said, yeah, I know this guy. Indeed. And she may have picked it up. There was a website that a bunch of advertisers for Intrepid Magazine. I founded Intrepid Magazine with Lan in 2011. He owned the magazine. I was the creative director of the magazine. And this was right after I left Taps Para Magazine with the Ghost Hunters.
Yep.
And he sold advertising on the basis, on false basis. Let's just put it that way. I don't need to go into the details. He let a bunch of people down. He sold, I think, 10 ads at $2,000 a piece for the magazine. And it ends up that he was using, he was scamming them. And none of that money came to me to produce the magazine. He didn't pay me anything from he told me took in 40,000 subscriptions. I don't believe that. He took in some money, but all the money disappeared. And by the time I figured this out, a month into the operation, then it was the nasty, and I think I shared it with you at the time, writing me nasty letters. I mean, nasty letters, telling me things like, yeah, and your wife is going to leave you and come to me because I got 9 inches hardness here for her, and, which you can't muster up, and, insults like just weird stuff. And I remember writing back to him saying, are you on crack or something? It was that kind of nastiness that he was writing, because I said, what's going on with the money with the magazine? And so as time went on, I parted ways with him. money was gone, everything. But I did Intrepid magazine on my own. He said, "You can have it. It's yours." I said, "Done. I'm considering this your signature. I've got it all of that saved." And so I started Intrepid magazine. I launched the first issue. We did several issues. And as you know, and then I get an email from one of the advertisers saying that I am part of a group, or what would you call it? A group lawsuit against Land, Me, and Intrepid magazine. And he had gotten all the advertisers together to do a fraud lawsuit and all of this. And so I had some deep conversations with them, and they realized I had just been just as scammed as everybody else, and so they pulled me off of the lawsuit, and it was solely against Lan. And I've talked, and they put up a website that was a Lan the Scammer website kind of thing. And every now and then I go check it out, and they had me write my story in there, which I did, but suffice it to say, that's the person Nancy and I are talking about. We were both close to him, and even after all of this, you still find yourself. Micah Hanks was close with Lan.
I was going to say Micah with Gralien Report.
Yep. Yeah, Gralien Report. Nancy was, I was, and these are all people that we all gathered together because we were all going to do some neat things together, and Lan ended up being the scammer, and apparently has quite a record. I actually saw a picture. Now, I'm not going for legal reasons. I can't definitively say what the crime was, but there was something about an ATM that had been broken into, and of course the ATM had a photo of the person who was doing it. And here was Lan staring right into the camera, or into the machine, the night it was broken into. The moment it was broken into.
It was a bolo. It was actually a be on the lookout.
Yeah, look out for this guy.
Yeah.
And that was before.
That's funny. I found that too. I was like, oh, crap.
And that was before the scam he was pulling on the library in Cat's neck of the woods in Oklahoma. And he was delivering some things. He was doing photography work for the county, for the library, for the national park that's there, the state park, whatever it is, and producing beautiful images. I mean, he still did his craft and was good at it, but he was scamming them and using a false name. There was Buck was in the name. That's why I came up with Buckaroo. It was, Buck something. And him standing with a picture with Cat in his big tall Lan with the cowboy hat on, which was a new incarnation of him. And it's sad because we know these stories of people that do these kinds of things, and they go from one thing to the other. They're scam artists and so on. But it was a friend of all of ours that something turned him into. He kept trying to raise money to do his, and then it turned into a thing of this is who he became. Constantly doing these illegal things, constantly getting in legal trouble over. I think his beautiful wife, Tara was her name. She divorced him finally, but
I think with Lan, something wasn't just. It just. I know he always claimed to have had back military service. I believe he said he was an Army Ranger. I never confirmed that. I never bothered. I took him at his word.
Yeah, he said he was an Army Ranger. I wouldn't put it beyond Lan to be somebody. Now, this is my opinion, my take. We all observe people. I wouldn't put it beyond Lan to maybe have been in the military. I don't know for certain. Never checked on that.
Yep,
no
me
need
either.
To. But I wouldn't put it beyond him to be somebody who could take that next step and take somebody out by the way he has conducted himself. So who knows?
I know the last time I had interaction with him was like, I want to say 2011, 2012, and he thought somebody had hacked him. And he was going berserk because he knew at that time I could code. I mean, I hadn't gone back to school for cybersecurity yet, but I could code my butt off. Yep. And so he was it was accusatory without being accusatory. And my answer was flat as it always is. Why would I bother? You're not worth that time to me. You are not
Right.
worth the trouble that would bring me. And it was interesting because when I went to reboot my computer later that day, and you guys got to remember the old systems when you would boot
Yes.
up, you would go through all these different sign-in screens, and I always ran MIRC. So my MIRC was on automatic boot in. And as it's booting in, his wife's name appears in my boot script.
What?
Yes. I was like, oh, hell no. Literally, like, hit the brake, shut the system down. I was like,
yeah.
Because he was very, very computer intelligent.
Yes, he
And
was.
he knew the IRC frontwards and backwards. So I was like, oh,
well,
no,
he
no,
was somebody who also, I know this was just a claim of his, but somewhat verifiable. Very early on, when I first knew Lan in the late 90s, early 2000s, he had said that he was part of a group that had him hacking pedophiles, and that he uncovered some pedophile ring or something.
But it's weird because it's like, really? Wonder if he was on the other side of that. And I'm just saying this as an opinion and an observation because of his behaviors, his proclivities. And it was, again, I always remember saying when we would be on the air, because we would do these like round table type shows sometimes. And I always remember saying, seriously, Lan, I'm the pagan in the group. What the holy hell? I mean, I don't even, my dimensional thought doesn't even go down that road.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, hello. And he always thought it was funny. And it's like, it's not funny.
I know.
It's really not funny. And it was right after that we did that one show, and we were talking about, I said to him, it's all about vibration. It is all about energy. It's all about how, you never actually touch an object. It's all about oscillation. And he started screaming at me, threw me off the air.
It would be that way.
I was literally like, what the holy heck? And then I get a message from him 2 days later. Hey, I was in shock jock mode. And I'm thinking, hey, you were probably stoned off your ass or something else, because that was just beyond measure what occurred.
Yes.
And that was it for me. I walked away because I was like, nope, don't need it. Don't want it. Save the drama for your mama. Don't do drama. So bye-bye.
Yeah.
And then you and I met up again on another network. I mean, Scotty, we're funny.
I know.
Because it's like we can't stay. It's like that magnetism. You, me, Rocky. There's a couple of us that just.
Yes, and folks, I've known Nancy since before I even started dating Raini.
Yep.
So we're talking back 20 years, more to 25 years. I have known Nancy. So
when the conversations consisted of, hey, anybody go to a local cemetery lately? It's so true. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm thinking, God, I can still remember the genesis of like the ghost hunters movement and some of the insane things that you would actually be party to.
It was about 2003, I think, was when Ghost Hunters launched on TV, and within a year or two, that movement, you could say that the stuff that they started because people took interest in it. It's not that it hadn't been going on already. It's that it wasn't. You went from one ghost hunter in the state of Minnesota to 20,000 ghost hunters in the state of Minnesota.
And it was a free for all. So, it was, folks. When we say free for all, Scotty was one of my moderators at one point, and when we say free for all, I mean, we are talking. You had your spiritualists who were trying to do Reiki circles in the middle of a chat room on the IRC.
Yes.
I mean, and then you had your demonologists that were condemning all the Reiki people.
I'm a
and
demonologist.
It was just, oh my God! I mean, it was.
Yes.
Literally, I don't know how people continued to volunteer for that for 8 to 10 years as moderators. And every day they would be I'm still friends with a lot of my moderators from that chat.
Yeah.
I mean, just for years, every day, all night, we had 24-hour moderation. I had over 50 moderators working that chat. And the craziness, the FBI in the chat room because of children under the age of 18 and predators and IMs. And I mean, it was insane.
Oh my God. That's like my TikTok, which I started 4 months ago. Rainey said, start a TikTok, do a daily reading. So I did that. I do a card reading. And I've gone from doing 12-minute readings to doing 30-second readings every day. I only missed a handful of days. And the people I have following me, it always asks you, do you want to follow this person back? Okay, so I go look at their profile, and the vast majority of people that follow me and want me to follow them back are ranging from 14 to 16-year-old girls.
Oh God.
That are, they're all trying to look, and they all do the videos, oh, I'm sexy. I'm too sexy. And it's like, there's some people I follow back, obviously, but then the teenage girls, I'm like, sorry, I don't say anything. I just don't follow them back. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that even on the outskirts of my life of having teenage girls. Sorry, teenage girls, you can follow me and listen to the readings and we'll comment. We can chat. I'm not going to follow you back. It's just not a thing I'm going to do, especially when you've got a 15 to 16-year-old girl who looks and has the body of a 30-year-old and is showing that all off on TikTok as much as you're allowed to. And it's like, I'm not friending this person. I do not need that. We see you have all kinds of friends of teenage girls showing off their cleavage. Well, no, I don't need that. So they're probably fake accounts anyway. Yeah. I think they're fake accounts until Lisa Marie Stucci. You see, they've got 100 videos of them doing all their gyrating with their boobs hanging out almost. And it's like, it's not unappealing from a male perspective. It's unappealing from a male perspective who is saying, wait, that's a teenager? And wait, you don't need to be doing that. If you were my daughter, you'd have your computer taken away.
That's the thing now. And this is what I mean when I say the bar has been, and it is deceptive. A lot of those are bots, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's been, oh my God, they farm material off the internet constantly, and they just they collate it and they put it out as it's the same thing with X, and it was a lot worse when X was Twitter, but it's the same type of deal. All of it's basically to get stuff on you. So just
listen, we've got Professor Bauer has been uncharacteristically silent and I don't mean that as a slam. I mean, you have a lot to say and you've been just biding your time waiting. I'm gonna give you your head now, like I did with the horse in the dream. Don't misinterpret my words. And I'm gonna let you go because I have to, because I woke up late, came into this show right away. I have to go take a break. So I'm going to take a 2-minute break, and I'm going to, Professor Bauer, I'm going to mute my mic and walk away, and I'm going to let you and Nancy talk for a couple of minutes. So, and go.
Wait till he's gone. Okay, he's gone.
I've got a whole bucket of dirt that I have over in the corner that I'd have to get up and go get to throw at Scotty. But I mean, because he's so deserving. How are you, my dear?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot going on, eh?
My brother, so many things there's synchronicity and then there's chaos. And it's so funny when you find synchronicity within chaos because it's almost more worth it. And I mean, like with myself, there's been so much happening that just, it goes beyond the pale when it comes to coincidence. And I always say, I don't believe in coincidence. I always think the universe has a plan. And when you start aligning things in the correct order, the plan begins to almost simplify and becomes more of a harmony rather than dysfunction. So in my life and Rafi's life, we've actually reconnected with Rocky, and we're relaunching everything with Rocky, and it's been amazing because within 2 weeks, I can't tell you how many things have happened that just holy crap. It's like just could not even begin to tell, phone calls out of the blue, connections to people that had connections to other people that you had connections to and you had no idea. So it's just been a very interesting month. We'll put it that way. And then you have world events where Robert, I know you watch them as closely as I do. And we do it with the eyebrow arched the whole time, half the time laughing because it's so 100% obvious what's going on. Yet, half of the population is still out there completely stunted and zero clue. zero clue. And very much, I guess you could say, conformed to the boob tube and not able to really break away. It's like they have no center mass. They just attach to whatever they think sounds good. So it's yeah.
Well, when your opinions are assigned to you by the mockingbird media, that's how I am with my linguistic objections and predilections. There's just a bunch of wrong language going on and wrong definitions that are causing even more chaos in the cranium, which ends up in the conversation because the words are wrong. They've all been weaponized. There isn't brainwashing going on. There's brain staining going on that needs a good brain washing. It's not about disclosure of whether we're alone or not, or how many of these are theirs versus ours and the percentages and all that. It's about exposure. It's about exposing the fact that they've had not only the technology, but the relationships, the interaction and all that with our cosmic cousins for decades, if not longer. The language has gotten just seriously weaponized, used and abused, and that's causing a lot of this confusion. So the funny thing for me is to sit back and watch it get unfolded and how they unroll it out to the sleeple, because they're not sheep, they're just asleep.
Yep.
And when you see the light bulbs go off on those that get the knock on the noggin, you go, see, now you see what's going on. One of the best memes the last year or so has been, get yourself a conspiracy friend, because somebody's going to have to explain all this shit to you. Well, because it's going down, and it's going down just in the ways that all of us have been analyzing and, looking at, considering, pondering on all of the fuckery afoot, because there has been an overabundance of it in this form of a tsunami of shit that has caused people to be overwhelmed. And when you are overwhelmed by a whole bunch of new data that's been screwed with, that you don't even know what the hell people are talking about anymore, and you're inundated with it, you're not taught how to process information, because how to think was replaced with what to think. So ergo, the opinions of the mockingbird media and the maniacs at the top of that pile have created a whole bunch of confusion. But the good news is that there's a lot of great energies coming in that's transforming this negative cycle of energies and cycles within cycles, particularly over the last 400 years. And that transformation, we're going through the crossing of the stream, if you will, the ending of the old cycle and the beginning of the new. And they are crossing as they wane and wax. And we're under that stream, getting all of the droplets and the nuggets and all of the nonsense being poured on everybody. But the people that are paying attention, that have been paying attention, those conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wackadoodles that are wandering in the woo, like you and me, are the ones that are here. We specifically selected and agreed to be here at this time to help the sleeple get through the sheeple and become the sentient for this next generation, for this next transformative period of time for humanity. We're going through some shit. There's dumpster fires and train wrecks all over the place every day.
Well, I mean, even today, did you
partly
see,
go ahead.
No, did you see yesterday where Richard Dawkins was actually nuked off Facebook? Richard Dawkins.
Why?
No.
Because he had posted not a meme, but a little excerpt about the Boxer in the U.S. Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently had made the clinical observation that this is a male. And
That's a
Facebook-
sin. You can't say he was a
Facebook
male.
nuked his account, and he didn't even say it on Facebook. He said it on Twitter. He said it on X, and Facebook nuked his account. And I'm like, Richard, they nuked Richard. What?
Well, you've seen what's going on over in the UK, right? With their,
yeah.
I mean, they've got over 3,000 people locked up for some subjective, objectionable posts on Facebook about hate speech. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Free speech includes hate speech. It's not speech that you hate because that's what you are really pissed off about. It's about free speech, about the expression. And everybody's got a knob, everybody's got a button. You can turn it on, turn it off, all that good stuff. But that's another example of the weaponization of the bullshit.
Yeah.
They've taken this carefully crafted and curated content of crap in this narrative, and they've weaponized it to the point where people are now going, I think you've had your run, you've screwed it up big time. Your track record sucks.
Mm-hmm. What's
everything
the big
that you've done is bullshit.
Tim Walz clip that's going around now? It's an old news clip from 2018, I want to say. It might have been sooner. I might be mixing it up, but it's a news clip where he was talking about free speech. And he was saying, I don't believe, he says, that free speech should include misinformation. He says, if you're giving out misinformation, your free speech should be taken away. Although he didn't say it quite like that, but he was saying, he didn't say free speech, I think. He said, that shouldn't be included as free speech. It's like, wait a minute. The Constitution doesn't say you have free speech as long as what you're saying is accurate by one political mindset. It doesn't say that.
Well, information and misinformation are still free speech.
That's it.
It's like, speech. What part of this?
What was the genius of the Constitution with the founders? It's not that it's illegal to say something that isn't so. It's legal. You can say that, and the Constitution defends your right to say it. What it doesn't do is it doesn't say, well, you might have public consequences. It's like, you go ahead and give your free speech. You might have to have consequences, is the unspoken there, but it can't be based on constitutional law. That's
why the social media platforms have made such a big jig about saying they were privatized, and because it's like private employment. They always point to that when you discuss it. They'll say, well, a Christian employer that's a private employer can fire somebody for being homosexual if that goes against their beliefs, because it's covered under private employment. So they took the social media platforms and basically said, well, we're private. We're not editors. We're private. So, but again, that I question, because I say, okay, well, that kind of went to the crapper when it was, brought forward that you had the White House manipulating different things going forward from the 2020 election. Definitely manipulating what could be said, definitely manipulating what could be heard. And it's admitted, it's on file, it's on record. So you just blew your whole "we have no attachment to the government" thing.
so what was it that the Supreme Court ruled on when a few months back they ruled? Really, a lot of conservatives were not happy with the ruling about social media platforms and so on, or the government being able to tell social media platforms what they can and cannot say, or directing them in some way. And the Supreme Court upheld that.
Well,
and
they upheld it under the guise
some
of national
point
security.
Of constitutional law here then.
Because again, this is where people did not speak when they needed to. Some of us were speaking out when the Patriot Act was passed. Some of us spoke out really loud when the National Defense Authorization Act started up in like 2012. Why? Because these laws actually go completely against, they literally are they're an oxymoron to the Constitution, literally. They take away your constitutional rights. And when they put the word terrorist and citizen next to each other, and they leave it up to one branch of government, the executive branch, namely the president, to discern who or what are on those lists. What they have a blacklist. Nobody knows who's on it. These are U.S. citizens.
Yes.
I mean, again, we gave way too much empowerment, and it's not legal. It's not legal under the Constitution. It is not legal.
Yes.
There was no vote nationwide to do this. They just enacted it. It's kind of like the Edward Snowden scenario, where if you talk to people within the government who work in the more clandestine areas, they'll tell you he was a traitor. Why? Because he showed that leaks could be made without ramification if you could run fast enough. Well, here's the problem. What he leaked was them participating in illegal activity. And they'll say, no, the FISA court approved it. No, the FISA court did not approve what you were doing. It approved a diagram of what you said you were going to do, not what you actually did. So
have you seen Citizen 4?
No.
Oh, you know
What
who
is
Glenn
that?
Greenwald is, right?
Oh, yes.
So Citizen 4 is the documentary of Glenn Greenwald working with Snowden to get him out of the country and get his information. Exceptionally well done. It's all behind the scenes. It's all the actual interviews with Snowden and Glenn. Citizen 4, I think it's on, it might be Netflix.
They still let us watch it?
Oh, yeah. I watched it last year. And I hadn't seen that before. And I knew, everybody's got some bit of the story that they've put out about what Snowden did. The fact that Assange got released, the timing and the circumstances around that is quite curious, don't you think?
I thought so.
Well,
right. Do you think Snowden might be next?
I always was of the mind that Assange had actually been released for several years before. It's kind of like I don't believe John McAfee's dead. I think that is the biggest BS that's ever been blown out to try to get the public to look a different direction. They put it this way, McAfee was like Assange. He had a dead man switch. And to take somebody like that out, the release of record would have been ridiculous. Assange, the same thing. He had a dead man switch. And it's like those records weren't just put in one place or, flip the switch. No, they were buried so deep and in so many locations. It's funny because I watched some of the hacks going on right before Assange got released. And I was like, oh, snap.
Yes.
Oh, snap. I knew exactly what was happening. I'm like, and suddenly Assange is free. Things are going to get really interesting. They're going to get really interesting. Because Assange he's a journalist, and he had a cop to a guilty plea. That's what killed me with that. I'm like, how do you get charged with espionage against the United States when you're not a U.S. citizen and these records were provided to you through third party? He never actually
and then get to walk free.
Well, that's the other thing. So, but he did do approximately 12 years. I mean,
yes. Well, what is the? Maybe I need to reset my my understanding of this. If you commit espionage against the United States and you're a citizen versus being a foreign agent, who's going to charge you if you're a foreign agent? You have to be caught in the United States.
Well, it depends on the legal treaties, the extradition treaties, depending on who the players are.
Right. Okay.
But then here again is another problem with the language that's being used. Did Snowden actually do espionage?
Nope.
Or did he just reveal information that he saw that was clearly questionable that needed to be exposed?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Hey, everybody, let's take one quick break here. I've got Vaughn, who is new to the channel. Both you, Professor Bauer, and you, Nancy, give Vaughn a quick one-liner about what this channel's about.
Your channel? How can we give a one-liner about your channel? Okay, so Scotty's about everything: world politics, conspiracy, paranormal, prayer, you name it. He'll touch on it.
This is a channel where the weird gets wild and it's let loose into the craniums of those who stumble across it. There are a number of people who have been dining and consuming this content for a number of years, and they're loyal because they know that they're going to get wandering in the woo, and you just have to hang on. So that's my description.
There you go. Vaughn, you're right. Everything is a lot, and thank you for saying that, Susie. Thank you, too. What this show is about, Vaughn, is I come in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and do a show, and then Sunday morning, a very casual show like this. Intrepid Radio, 9 p.m. Central, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it started out as a show where I said, one of my own promos, I said, we talk about science, politics, archaeology, history, ancient history, historical mysteries, world mysteries, cryptids, weird happenings in history and things like that. And all of this stuff kind of wrapped up together. And then I always tied it up with saying this show is about what I want to talk about. It's what I like to do, what I like to say. And as Nancy knows, I've been in radio since about 2000, so 24 years. And we've been doing this kind of format. I've had a few years break in there, it wasn't a constant radio stream, but for about 24 years, been doing this. And so it's a show where you can come in, you can participate, you can listen, you can call in, you can, and so there you go. You can, if you go to the YouTube channel where you are right now, Vaughn, and this is all special for you, Vaughn, just go into the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, look at my list of videos. We've got about 1,200 archived episodes of this show on my YouTube channel. You can go just scroll through the topics and you get an idea of what this show's all about. So now, did you mean, this channel, I mean, yeah, not just this show. So there you go. There was a 5-minute break into our conversation just to let new listener, Vaughn, know what we're about. So you're welcome here anytime. You can participate in the chat or you can just watch. So there you go.
Put it this way. You have many people around the world saying that they're part of the awakened, not the woke, the awakened. Okay, we are the OG movement of the awakened. We have been around for decades, and much of what we've said over these decades has manifested. So we're the people sitting in the corner at the bar with the really crinkled out tinfoil hat that's been used, worn, washed, dried, bleached, you name it. It's been through tumble dried. But we still have it. It's still there. And it's really, really tuned in to a lot of things. I mean, all three of us have sat here and watched all different aspects. We've all seen it happen from different angles, different places in society. It's really kind of crazy that, I mean, Robert, I became familiar with you in 2014, 2015, in that range. Scotty, I've known since forever. Like, we're not even going to go.
Since we were little boys and girls playing in the sandbox.
Dude, we were young. We were young when we met.
We were young once.
We were young. I mean, and it was so funny because if you compare those two people, it's like, who were we?
There's so much has changed.
I can still.
By the way, I want to do this only because Susie Q brought it up.
Oh my God! No.
Walk over here. We got this one, and we got this one. Okay, this is just for the hell of it. I'm going to show you these.
Oh, shit. Here comes the Scotty Roberts promo.
Oh, no.
Everybody,
there it is.
If you need to take a leak.
Yeah, don't promo your show on here at all, Professor.
Or refill your
Susie Q mentioned one book.
It's a good time.
Susie Q mentioned the rise or the she said, I'm an artist and author, and I wrote The Secret History of the Reptilians. I thought I'd just give this a quick
run through. The Nephilim.
Second, the Secret History of the Reptilians was the follow-up to this book, my first book with New Page Books, which is now part of Hampton Roads, Red Wheel Weiser, Rise and Fall of the Nephilim. Then, of course, the Rise and Fall of the Nephilim came out also in Spanish. So there's the Spanish version.
I remember, Scotty, I remember when you were writing it. I remember when you were doing the forward to it.
I would talk to you about stuff. I said, I think I'm going insane thinking about this stuff. Then also The Secret History of the Reptilians came out in Spanish. And they changed the covers. I don't know why, but they did their own covers in Spanish. Then John Ward and I wrote The Exodus Reality. It was our tit for tat, back and forth historical view of the historical Moses. And that was a beautiful book, by the way.
Your side resonated. Your thought process on that resonates better with me than John's did. And I told you that.
Yeah, so did everybody's. So, or as John said, he says he was signing somebody's book once, and he said he wrote in there, he says, Scotty's theory on Senenmut, he says, is masterful. You'll find it beginning on page 268. And you turn to 268, it's the blank page at the back of the book. And so we had a friendly thing going back and forth. But The Exodus Reality also came out in Chinese, that book. I don't know what dialect this is. It's got all the pictures in it, but our book had 16-page spreads of full color of all the stuff we did on our trip. So there's those books. And then I also wrote The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, and illustrated. It's a full color. You can't tell by the way I'm flipping here because, well, there's one of them. So I got that one. And then my most recent was The Sword in the Clay. And this is all illustrated. And this is all for the benefit of Vaughn. So because Susie Q said she only mentioned one of my books, Travesty, I have Susie Q. I have several. So
is this the same?
Oh, are you back? Are you back, Professor?
I just woke up.
Now, hey, in all fairness, where can people find what you're doing on the radio? You've got a pretty cool show going on.
Well, thank you. The Geezer Geeks is the latest iteration of the shows I'm doing. I still do the Nexus, where they are one-on-one shows, but I just found out that I got over 35,000 views in the month of July.
Nice.
And I went, what's going on here? Is that a
now
bunch
let's
of
see
bots?
If every one of those was worth one measly little dollar,
right?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? So the Geezer Geeks, that's every Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And we have Jim Goodall, Gerald Fountain, Clay Lacombe, and occasionally Mr. B from down under, down in Australia. And we are geezers. We're all north of 55. And one of us is Jim Goodall, is going to be 80 next year. And he's an aviation historian. And he's got some stories from Bob Lazar to the SR-71 that just go on and on to the point where I've got to cut him off sometimes. Well, and I get cut off too.
And you know what? When you get to be 80 years old, I look at myself at 63 and the way I can ramble, I can't imagine what I'll be like when I'm 80, which is only 16 and a half years away.
Yeah, he's
80.
He's 12 years ahead of me. I just ticked off my 67th orbit last month, and I feel like I'm on my 47th.
Me too.
And I've got, just being able to do this, I'm closer to 70 than I am to 60, which is like, not a lot of people thought I'd get this far, including myself.
You know, the only way my age really starts to catch up with me is not mentally as much as I just parked at Walmart and realized by the time I got to the electronics section, I walked 3 blocks and my hips hurt. So it's like, okay, I guess I am getting older, or I don't exercise enough.
Well, and just to finish off my little promo thing, just to let you know, and because you did do the book thing, I'm just going to let everybody know I've got Informatica. The book is underway. It should be out hopefully by the end of the year. If not, maybe in the next month or two, depending on how things go.
Right on.
I've got another book called The Vibe, which is in works. Another one called I Am Who, and then What's Your Why. So I have 4 books in works right now.
Sound like me.
I just hung around you too much, and all of a sudden the writing and the bookworm shit started coming out, and And now being able to create all this content in this new transformative time of the shit that we're going through feels like it's like supposed to be here for the next.
Yes.
Because Nancy, as you know, you and I have had several chats about this. People need to realize this is another reframing of the lingo and the language.
Yes.
All this stuff about being present in the now is completely wrong. We are always in the next.
Yep.
The now is a fleeting stamp of the frequency signatures that occur at that second, at that micro, however you want to measure it. We're always in the next. We're always thinking about what's next, what's going to happen next. What do we? What's our prognostication, our prediction of where we're going to go, what we're going to say, what we're going to think. Every thought is an energy form. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, which got me on here because Nancy, you were dropping that hard at the beginning, and I went, "Oh shit, I got to have me a piece of this." So
when we talked, when you and I first talked, Robert, I had you on as a guest on the Vixen's Vault as our first encounter with each other. And for me, and I've said this before, for me, it's, how do I put this? Everything I've learned when it comes to energy, frequency, vibration, quantum physics, you name it, almost every bit of information I have compiled came pre-collegiate education. It was all on a search to define myself. And Scotty knows this about me. Every single bit of education, even about genetics, anatomy, DNA, you name it, I have been there digging the crap out of it. Why? To define me. Yes. That was what put me on my mission. And I always say that it honors me, it humbles me when I speak to people like you, like Scotty, because you guys, you did the pole work. Like, you guys had focused thought pathways and focused paths forward. Whereas me, I was just trying to define, why can I do that? Why do I dream about crap before it happens? This is really disturbing, because half the people you talk to will say that's, well, you're a gifted mystic. And I'm like, whoa,
you're a gifted mystic.
Break. I'm really super normal, more normal than you'll ever want to know. And then the other half will say, it's Satan trying to work through you. Whoa, break harder.
It's Satan.
I mean, so I truly have spent almost 40 years, actually. It precedes Ghost Hunters. It precedes that whole part of my life. It precedes me having kids. I have always been on this journey, and it started with dreams. It started with researching dreams. Told you guys, I stepped away from the Catholic religion when I was 12.
Right.
12 years old, I refused to be confirmed because it didn't fit me. It didn't fit me. And I was on this mission to learn about me. Were there other people out there like me? Do other people feel frequency? Could other people tell when they walked in a room who was angry, who wasn't, who was cheating on their wife? Could other people do that without hearing anything auditory? I remember thinking, am I crazy? I went through how many different types of tests. I got checked for tinnitus, you name it. I have done it, trying to figure myself out. And along the way, you start seeing patterns, as I like to say, patterns. That is the key to all of it. It's the key to my knowledge. It's the key to your knowledge. It's the key to the universal knowledge. You have to stay on it.
And we don't have the faintest idea still what's really going on.
When a frequency is, when you're in the right place. And I always say that. It's, how they used to do was it I Dream of Jeannie, where when she had a thought, it would go ding, 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 make the little.
I don't know. I was too busy looking at Jeannie.
Yeah. That was by design. But I mean, literally, you get these. I get these like tingling sensation. I call it the spidey sense. Tingling sensation when I know I am 100% on the right path. I need to follow this path. I need to keep. It's a vibration, and it's letting me know. Okay, this is resonating. Remember, I always say that if it resonates deep inside of me, that's where I got to go. That's my next step, and it's always followed up by, I'm not meant to be a leader. I'm meant to be that red carpet that you step on to get to where you need to go. I'm here to facilitate. And
Are you like the? Could you use the analogy of the flight attendants? You can leave now. Come on, go on, get down, go on. You remember the SNL skit?
Yes. Yes, but I would be the flight attendant that opens the door at 10,000 feet for some people and let you.
Here you go.
No shoot
We're
required.
at your destination.
Did you pay extra for the parachute?
Goodbye.
No. See ya. Bye-bye.
Parachutes don't come in cattle class.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Bye.
So, what did Mermani say? That's the nice thing about social media. You can talk about seeing ghosts, fairies, dragons, and UFO or two, and folks just blow it off as nonsense. It's very cathartic. But then at the same time, out of the other side of my face, I can start talking about politics and government and civics and current events. So you can talk about it all.
You got to be careful how you were, as the good doctor would say, the good professor. You have to be careful how you word that, because there are algorithms in play that actually look for certain types of words and scrape your social media.
And you know that, interestingly enough, is I think one of the reasons that I've gotten so many views, which is like blown me away. I got the notice this morning and I went, what is going on here?
That's nice.
And I thought, you know, at least a couple of months ago, some of the original Geezer Geek shows, I mean, we were trashing the fuck out of everything. Yeah. And we were calling it out. And I'm thinking, you know, I would have thought we would have at least got a strike or, you know, video taken down or, you know, something.
So you actually got 78,000 views, but they've suppressed more than half of them.
But was surprising to me, and then I started thinking about it, was why is it that we can say the things that we're saying and we're not getting ticked for it? And I think a lot of it has to do with the language that's selected.
Yep. Because
as I go into in the Informatica book, language is the operating system of the mind. All of this AI bullshit that's going on and sucking all the oxygen out of the air is just that. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's neither artificial nor is it intelligent. It's in a minimum, it's assisted interrogation and possibly advanced interrogation, because all it's doing is taking what we've done for the last few decades with Siri and Alexa and Google and Bing, and Google just got its ass handed to it, which is great. Watching that unfold will be quite important going forward, because I do think my spidey sense is telling me that Google will be broken up. It'll be another a la Ma Bell thing that happened back in the 70s or 80s. And so anyway, the point is that all this shit is bullshit, and they've taken the hyperbole, sex, sizzle, and muss and fuss of AI, and they've turned it into this HAL 9000 Terminator singularity thing, scaring the shit out of people, and that stuff just can't happen with the current science and physics that we use today. You cannot, there's no way you can put any form or resemblance of sentience into hardware and software. It just doesn't work. The Carrie Cassidys and people that are going on about, well, AI is floating around in the air, and you got nano this and 5G that, and it's going to triangulate and cause all this stuff. That's not AI.
Tell that to Mr.
AI that's not the AI that's out there now. That's weaponized frequencies.
Yep.
That's different than computing. So, but the language being the operating system of the mind, that's exactly what's going on with this AI bullshit. It's all built and designed by humans.
Think about it, though, Robert.
All of the flaws, the peccadillos, the preferences, and the biases, and all that bullshit comes through the person that's programming, and you end up with the crap that we've got. AI is not going to be one giant. Nobody's going to win. The only one I think really has, at least in current lead Jeep, is Musk with Grok, because what we're going to see is, number one, we're seeing the collapse of AI through what's going on being the AI wars. These are nothing more than expert systems, and everybody's got one. The AI that we will see, or this assisted interrogation or intelligent assistant, whatever this lazy geeks come up with, what you're going to have is an independent agent that is custom designed and tailored and configured to your needs. that whoever comes up with that open source AI agent that is truly configurable and you can lock it down, open it up, do whatever you want with it, that's where this new technology will end up.
Daniel says, I will not survive the age of AI. I argue with my GPS and therefore I'm on the list to be culled.
You know what, though, guys? I'm still going to firmly stand into that corner. And you guys know I'm in technology, too. And
Yep.
I am going to firmly stand there and say if AI has done anything, it has revealed that truly humanity is actually the singularity, not the AI. And that because it is humans that are actually programming this. And eventually what I think AI is it's kind of deprogramming humans, which I think is interesting because it is removing your ability. And I've said that when you use AI, every time you use AI, you are burning your brain cells, basically. You are not using your own abilities of intellectual thought process. You are not expanding your brain. You are not expanding your knowledge base. You're letting the computer do it.
Right.
So we are basically all the programmers. You go 2 generations of this, you're not going to have anybody to put information into the system because nobody is going to, it's all going to be
Nobody's going
repetitive.
to know how to do it anymore.
Right. And what we're left from this time period is what's going to be programmed, which is incorrect. You have words that do not mean what they should mean. You have a whole generation of kids who are defining those words as truth because this is how they've been educated. We're in big trouble, guys. We're in big trouble.
Well, it's like my own career that I've talked about as an artist. What am I facing now? As an illustrator, I can illustrate something and I have a set price. And it's been the same price for years. You know, I'll do X number of dollars for an illustration, X number of dollars for a cover design. Well, what happens now? I go on all these groups where we used to pull all kinds of jobs down, and it's every job that's listed. You got 500 kids from some Stan country over in Eastern Europe that are all wanting the American dollars, and they all have a computer and can use AI and therefore think that they can create in 5 minutes what takes me 5 to 8 hours to create, and sell it for $15 as opposed to $400. And so they get these jobs, and it's hurting. That's what I found. My career is hurt by AI only in the sense that now I use AI when I have a quick, dirty job. I got $50. Can you do this? Sure. Give it to me. I'll do it. And I crack out an AI thing for them. And that's when it's handy. But what it's done, it's starting to replace, but only to a certain extent, like you both have talked about. AI can't create a book for you where all the characters are consistent between 20 illustrations, that they all look the same, they all look from different angles, and so there's that hold up with AI. But you need an illustrator, and so traditional illustrators like me are having a tougher time. Traditional authors like all of us are having a tougher time because somebody can sit down. I have a guy that was a client of mine. He sat down and didn't need me to write anything for him because he had AI doing it for him. And it looked good and it read well, but it was AI because I happen to know the guy and he could not write his way out of a wet paper bag.
Well, see, this is the point where I think there's a blend or a point between what you said, Scotty, and what Nancy was saying, and kind of where I'm coming from. I'm a geezer geek. I've been in tech for over 40 years. I've been building software and security and comm shit for 4 decades or more.
Yeah.
And I've been using all these tools. I implemented ArcNet on 286 switchable 6 to 8 hertz with green screens and floppy disks, and was a certified Novell NetWare engineer. And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm thinking, okay, the problem that majority of people have is they don't have any of that background. They don't have an engineering or have any experience about how does this shit actually work.
Is that like cutting Ruby Lith? You remember Ruby Lith?
Oh my God. Man,
back in the day,
yeah.
Getting your type for anything you're printing, your type would come out on a galley and you would use rubber cement or wax
God.
machines.
Yeah.
Cut out your type and lay it all out with a ruler, and you would use Rubylith to cut your
3D
colors.
printing.
There, I'm dating
Right, and-
myself.
But don't forget Silly Putty, right? The original Xerox machine.
Yep.
You could put that on a comic and pull it off, and you'd have the color be backwards. But my point is this on this whole stuff that's going on with this AI. First of all, they are expert systems. They are designed to be as efficient as possible targeted at certain tasks. You've got hundreds, if not thousands, of individual AIs popping up all over the place. Graphics, video, music. There are lawsuits all over the place because these systems, that's why they're either assisted interrogation or advanced interrogation. They interrogate the data that they have been tasked to go interrogate. What do? They can only use existing shit.
Right.
So that's where all this copyright stuff is right now. Suno and Udio and on the music side are getting sued by the major labels because, it kind of sounds like this song or this copyrighted published material. You're not seeing it necessarily with art because unless it's somebody trying to do a Dali, there's nobody owns a copyright to Dali anyway. If you're going to try to sell it into that sector and that market, nobody's going to, you might get some shit, but the writing is another one. New York Times is suing OpenAI because they trained their shit on articles out of the New York Times.
Sure.
So it's causing a very needed conflagration of the intellectual property, the IP of a content creator against the system that's been in place for decades.
Yes.
That's broke, it's corrupted, it's full of unnecessary intermediaries. You don't need anymore. You don't need BMI and ASCAP and SoundScan to do music and get it out there. And, and you can start by sitting on your toilet in your bathroom and make a one-hit wonder. Okay. All of the labels, the distribution, all that shit's not necessary anymore. Same thing with writing books.
Yeah.
Right. So the liberation of the individual content creator is upon us. The vehicle that's enabling it is these expert systems that have been incorrectly labeled AI. And oddly enough, the tokenized blockchain that's underneath the crypto model that is going to replace the current financial system in some way, shape, or form. Technology is going to enable back to the peer-to-peer, the one-to-one, the barter system of exchange of value. And that's going to liberate the shit out of all kinds of things.
I'm just thinking the books between you and I, we got about 8 books that are being written right now, Professor. Boy, if we used AI, we could have those published in 3 days.
Now,
and they'd be ready to go to
it's
go
not
to press.
just that. People need to be very, very careful with, there's multiple platforms, but AI, you got to be careful where you're using it on the platform. Because, recently, let's just look at what Google did. Google recently basically let all these people who have been on the back end of the AI, so Google had put out a call, I know this as a developer, where they were asking people to work on the open code for their AI systems. And, basically it was an open source. Go ahead, have at it. Well, a couple months ago, they basically let everybody know that all the work they did, everything they did that was transformative was actually owned by Google. They had no rights to any of the work they did.
Wow.
Right.
So again, when you're using these features, you have to understand that if it ever came down to a battle in court with intellectual property, he who wrote the program owns the rights. Believe it or not, it's just the way it works. Whoever system has the master program owns the rights. No matter what you put into it, what sweat, blood, does not matter. You're on somebody else's platform. Same thing. It was something I was trying to explain to people with the jab. I'm like, they have put patented technology into these vaccines, which changes how the human system actually functions. So if it came down to a court battle, you are actually patented by that technology, whether you like it or not.
Well,
And this is the problem with intellectual property.
Well, and Nancy, just another cavern in that rabbit hole. The whole corporation of the USA and the birth certificates and everything that we have already been settled with for over 100 years.
Straw man.
We already technically don't own us in that model, but we do if we claim the sovereignty of self.
Yes.
And that's one of the most important things that I think is going to be a part of this transformative disruption, that this new tech, all it is all these other systems on steroids. It's a next evolution of them. And boy, it's interesting how much they're needed, because have you guys noticed every fucking thing that we use, science, government, education, academia, medicine, health, financials, the judicial system, everything is broke. It's all broke. It doesn't work anymore. And none of it can be fixed. None of it can be repaired. It all has to be replaced.
Yep.
Well, the only way you can replace stuff is if you have an idea of what needs to be, what it needs to be replaced with. And because most people have no sense of systems and processes and methodologies, first principles thinking, the nut of the nugget, the how to think, not the what to think.
How to think, yes.
Right? All of that is now being enabled through this really bizarre, what the hell are you talking about, new tech called AI. Because all of the shit where we're saying, well, you can't do your own research. Like, well, yeah, that's the first big red flag. If you're saying trust the experts, I got a list of experts with PhDs and TLAs tattooed on the ass end of their names that have a track record of shit, ergo lost credibility. So anybody with those TLAs tattoos, they're my first suspects. I'm like, okay, you're one of the first folks I'm going to seriously question, because your track record is shit. And it's been highly amplified and magnified over the last 5 years since they tried to pull this spamdemic, along with the erection of bullshit that they did. And you look at it and you go, okay, you tried. I'll give you an A for effort. I'll give you a C- for execution, because it's clear that every time they try to pull something off of some serious magnitude, that there's not a lot of forethought into what's going to happen afterwards, or a plan B, which goes back to this whole, the latest example of this assassination bullshit. I mean, it was clearly, we talked about this on the Geeks. We're like, okay, how much of it is conspiracy? How much of it's incompetence? And maybe what's the blend between the two? It's clearly a shitload of both, but the weight is clearly on. There was a whole bunch of people involved in this, either purposely neglectful or intentionally neglectful, from a nefarious perspective. But you look at it and you go, for an event of this magnitude, never in history has there been so many telemetry recording devices. There is more shit that was been captured by independent individuals with their phones, because this technology of having everything being able to record and find in your pocket has never been in one place like it has for that event.
Follow by my mindset with this real quick. I'm just going to real quick.
And we are getting close to wrapping up. So we're overtime right now. We're in overtime.
Okay, so you had the last, 4 to 5 years, actually 6 years, since 2018. You've had an absolute lockdown on certain methods of thinking, expression, anything conservative, anything that dealt with Trump was locked down. Okay, they literally would I've got you know that. I'm actually under my name again. I got deplatformed on multiple areas. Twitter, actually, Elon Musk reinstated me about a year ago on Twitter. But I mean, people, you were shut down. But what did that create? Think about it, because that was AI that shut people down. It was an AI algorithm that would go through and scrape and shut you down. Well, what did that create? That created people like me who get annoyed and are very computer savvy. And what did we do? We found ways around it. So now you have people like me who are at a Trump rally who are filming all these things, and I guarantee they were trying to pull those videos as fast as they were going up. They really were, but they couldn't, because they spent 6 years building people like me who know exactly how to get around all of their algorithms, all of their BS, and we still get the information out. So they kind of, I always say, they're the architects of their own demise without even knowing it.
And
Well,
they created a rage against the machine of a different kind.
And that you're making my point exactly, Nancy. The whole idea of being able to contain that which they think needs to be contained, they've lost their grip. You now have more people that are more interested to do their own research and use these tools that they created. They thought they were going to use for control, but it's now out in the wild. It's like when the internet came out, they thought maybe they could kind of control it. Well, it got away from them. The whole thing the point I was making about the assassination is that clearly, after the lawfare, after the legal stuff, they're trying to sue him into oblivion. They're like, well, none of that shit's working. Then we got to pull out the last ditch here and take him out. And that failed. Well, they didn't have a plan B. And that's what a lot of the obfuscation, the scrambling, the chaos, and why you're not hearing any what you would think coming from officialdom about, here's what we have, here's what we know, here's the data on this. You're not getting any of that because they didn't expect to have to do it. So they're scrambling because they didn't think that this was going to fail. Just like everything else, they didn't think the vaccine and the virus was going to fail. They didn't think the election thing was going to fail. I mean, there is a long laundry list of complete abject failure, and we are the beneficiaries of not only their failed planning, but also unleashing tools that we are now turning against them that they didn't expect the peeps to get a hold of and proliferate. Right. So that's what I think's going on, and I'm actually having a good time watching it. It's highly entertaining, and I'm looking forward to the next level.
We will talk about this week, Professor Bauer. I want to get more content on this. And Nancy, I'm going to try to nail you down to come back in too this week.
Well, as I said, both Robert Bauer and Scotty Roberts, you guys are, we're rebooting the Stucci Network, and 100% both of your shows, guys, I'm in charge of the programming. So
right on. We'll do it. And by the way, before you two leave, Professor Bauer mentioned 4 books in the work. I mentioned 4 books in the work. I'm going to show these off. Why? Because it's fucking my show.
Shit, so here we
go. Some of you have seen this before. I've got two books that my publisher wants me to work on, New Page Books. One on the Book of Enoch, and the other one on, it's like God and mushrooms and psychedelics and the past and things like that.
Oh, Robert's there. Look at Robert. He's like,
yeah, what? He's so there. I may have to interview you. We'll have to get together and try some psychedelics.
Hey, have yours, call mine,
So I'm working on those, but I've got 2 other ones. One for a long time for my agent asked me to write this. It was here's the cover I did for it. Because I'm well into it. The 10 Breaths of Ra. And this is my novel. It's a novel that's set in 1920s Egypt with nice. Daniel Badcock is the main character, and Eileen Byrne is the archaeologist, and it's all the adventures I go through, occult mysteries, things like this. So I'm working on that one. That one's pretty advanced. It's just on the back burner. So, and by the way, all the art you see here, all the writing is mine. It's not AI. All right. The other one was one I started on kind of a bit of a lark, and I haven't gotten deep into this, but this one, and I did a cover design. I see things in my mind. And so I do the cover designs as I'm working on because I see something. This is about my grandfather's experiences in World War II, where he was part of Patton's Third Army. And after the crossing of the Danube, he went AWOL to go to Hungary to look for his Jewish relatives. and had learned eventually that they were all deported on to the death camps, and there was not a single one of them left in this small town in Hungary. Now, he's my mom's stepdad, so I don't claim Jewish heritage, but he's the grandfather I grew up with my entire life, and was my mom's dad from the time she was 5 years old back in the mid 1940s. So this is a book about him and about his experience of walking away AWOL from Patton's Third Army and going to find his relatives and the outcome of all of that and so on. So those are two I'm working on that have absolutely nothing to do with AI. So I'm working on those two books as well as my two for New Page Books. So, Professor, I'm right there with you. And I could add more books to that list. I've got one that's done that's not published yet. The publisher's kind of dragging his heels, not because of my content, but he's trying to find the best time to release it. I told him before Christmas this year, and that's the illustrated How to Be an Archaeologist.
Well, the thing about these expert systems is that they are tools. You've got these people, again, like I was saying, they're all worked up about this term HAL 9000 Terminator Singularity. It's bullshit. But the thing is, and then AI is going to take my job. It's like, no, people that use AI will take your job.
Yes.
And these are tools that need to be embraced, and keeping in mind that we are in the first iteration of something that's going to transform dramatically, because the AI wars that are going on now is going to end up in an AI bubble and a collapse. And it's going to end up, well, Nancy girl. But
Nancy, I didn't shut you off, did I? I don't think I did.
Did you click on her?
I didn't. She's just gone.
Well, anyway, the AI thing is not what people should be worried about. You need to sit back and let it evolve and play out and let it crash and come back as the way it should be. Don't believe the hype and the bullshit, because that's just designed to scare. It's all, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But if you embrace it, if you know how to utilize these tools to your advantage, there's some pretty sweet shit you're going to be able to do going forward. And,
very true.
And you have to look at it from that perspective, in my opinion.
Yes. Well, Professor, I hate to see it. It is with a heavy heart that I have to say, time to go. So thanks for being here, brother. Always love having you here. And we'll do it again this week. One night this week, let's talk more about some of this stuff and dig in even a little deeper.
It is my privilege and pleasure. Thank you very much.
You have a fun day out there in Colorado.
Yeah, you do the same. I've been working on the studio. I got all kinds of stuff happening here. We're getting a little monsoon season, so that's nice. Everything's getting watered, and I think my dogs are about to get watered too. I think it's pressure wash the pups day.
Well, you go water your dogs.
You got it.
I'm gonna go. Everybody's gone today. My wife's in Alaska with the 12-year-old girl. My little girl is with grandparents this weekend, and my son is off doing something. It's like the house is quiet. So I'm going to go.
Well, it sounds like tickle your pickle time.
I'm going to go run around the house naked and make some baked beans. We'll see you later, Professor.
Take care, brother.
All right, everybody else, thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of my morning. You go have a wonderful Sunday. And we'll see you tomorrow night, Monday night, at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Left Coast time. And we'll take it from there. So all of you, as Scott Allen already prompted, live long and prosper.